Close your legs. Close your legs.
Wow.
Hey, Sister Faith.
Hey,
So
Shira.
what are we talking about today?
Well, child, I was thinking about the time that old Dusty Bum. That's what I call him, child. My ex, when he stole my dead brother money and he simulated a robbery to cover it up, child.
Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Tell me about that.
Oh,
So what happened?
well, my brother had died. Bless his heart. It was while he had died, and so there was some people on my job that took up some money for me. And for my brother just to help me out, and I was gonna take that money and do like a little memorial and run it all in the paper. So that was my plan. Around that
Man.
time, it was income tax time, and you be rich around that time. When you get income tax, I was ready. So
Right.
anyway, Dad got the money, came home, put the money in my little lock box and everything, trying to make sure it was protected. And then I also had got some income tax money too. So I would withdraw some cash from the ATM. I put it in my lock box as well. So I noticed probably like over a few days, I would go to my lock box and I would count my money. And it seemed like some money was missing, but I really wasn't sure. So I leave it. I'll be like, well, maybe it's just me because my mind be running sometime, and I was working that shift, from like 4:30 to 1 and everything, be tired. So I noticed over a few days, every few days when I would go to my box, it seemed like money was missing. I'm like, what is going on? So then I just asked my ex, that's the bone. I was like, you know about anything going on with my money? He was like, I don't know anything. What money? I was like, never mind. And I went on going on about my business. So one night actually, I came home, and I came home early. I went to my lockbox. Well, I thought I was. It was gone. Missing.
Ooh,
I'm
child.
like,
Wow.
what in the world happened? And the money that I had in that time was a little bit income tax money, wasn't a lot, but the majority of it was the money that I got that was given to me, for my brother that I was going to use to make the memorial in the paper. And I was upset. I didn't know what to do. And of course, he was missing. And I'm like, I don't know what is going on. What is this? And
Wow.
so by the time, so I'm calling dialing his phone because at that time I'm like, nobody else was here to do this. Because nobody but me, him, and my son at the time. My son was little child. And I said, nah, something not right. And it really, even then, I felt like, I was like, he took my money. But, then there was another part of me, I didn't want to believe it because he's supposed to be my husband. So I'm calling. Yeah, and I'm calling, dialing the number, not getting the answer. And so finally, after a while, he finally called me back because I had so many calls on his phone. And I'm like, where are you? And then he was talking all crazy, and I could tell he had been drinking. And he was just saying, like, talking some crazy stuff. And I told him, I said, my money missing. And at that time, I was cussing. So I was cussing. And I was like, my money missing. You better give me my money right now. Give me my money. What you done did? That's my brother money. Da-da-da-da-da. And he, I don't know what money you talking about. I don't know what you talking about. And then all of a sudden he made it where we started fussing about something, just diverted off of that. Even though I was still upset about my money because I'm like, oh, what is this? What's going on? So I wound up, I said, where are you? Where are you? And he was like off in his little camper. They ain't had no lights, no water, no nothing. That was off on his mom and dad land. And I said, I'm coming out there. So I got in my car and I sped out there to his mom and dad land, drove out there, and lo and behold, he was sitting in that old camper. But when I got in there, I saw paper, a box, and a shotgun. And it was brand new shotgun. Then I saw alcohol. And I'm like, I know he didn't. I know this, didn't. I was calling him names. I was cussing. I was like, So you gonna spend my money? Oh, I ain't got no money. I ain't spend your money. And then he twisted and turned everything around, basically, like what those little sociopathic narcissists do, because that's what he is. He turned everything around, and we just started arguing about something else that wasn't even an issue. It was crazy that night. Then he was acting like, maybe he shouldn't come home and all this kind of stuff. And, I don't know. He was just talking a bunch of crazy stuff. So by the end of that, when things finally calmed down, of course, he wound up getting in the car with me, and we go back to the house. So after that, I still had my suspicions, because I'm like, I believe he done stole my money. I know he stole my money. So I started watching him, and I was like, he didn't have no money to go get a shotgun. He didn't have no money for nothing, because he didn't have a job. All he did was hustle. That's all he did was hustle. So he didn't have a job. He wasn't getting no income tax check or nothing. So nothing, it just didn't add up for him to be able to go buy a brand new shotgun, have all the alcohol he had, nothing. But I still was like, I guess I was kind of like in the point where I was like, I really don't want to believe he did it. But deep inside, I knew he did it. That's where I was. So I kept watching him. And I knew he knew I was watching him, because I was trying to find any other piece of evidence that directly tied him to it, which the missing box should have been. But, that's just what my mind was then. So it was probably like a week. Yeah, that next week after all that went down. And I was at work, came back. He said, my shoe missing. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, my shoe's missing. And then it was a few other things he said missing. Sis. Why would somebody take some Bobos? Because that's what he wore. Bobos. It wasn't Nike. It wasn't Jordans. It wasn't nothing name brand. It was some Walmart Bobo shoes that he was wearing. Now, don't get me wrong, I ain't got nothing against no Bobo shoe, because you got to wear what you got to wear. But for him to talk about somebody took it and it's missing, and then he walked around the apartment. Somebody stole my stuff. Who took my? I mean, he was going off. And I still, inside, I'm like, that don't make no sense, because he ain't got no good stuff like that around him. So then it was, I believe it was the next day. Walked outside on the porch. I saw dents in the doorknob. And I said, come here. Like that. I said, look at this. Somebody tried to break in. And he was like, I said, when did this happen? When did this, And he's like, oh, I said, I better call the landlord. It looked like somebody tried to break in, because it did. It looked like somebody tried to break in. I mean, the doorknob was all bent up and everything. So I called him. I called the landlord, and I told him, I said, it looks like the doorknob is bent up. I don't know when this happened. I said, because I be at work, 4:30 to 1, and he, whatever be where he at when he get people to come pick him up for rides and stuff. So I can't tell you when this happened. And the landlord was like, do you think you need to call the police? Or I said, well, it's some stuff in here, like, really, that's not missing from this of mine, other than, the box. But this was after the fact, But anyway, I didn't call the police, because really, to be honest, kind of deep inside, I knew something is off. So I did not feel good about it at all. And I remember I told him again, I said, this is hard for me to believe that somebody gonna break in, steal your shoes, steal. Then he said he stole a shirt. Sis, one of none of that name brand, one none of that something that you be checking out and be like, ooh, I got to have that. He ain't had none of that kind of stuff, because he the type of person, he just wanted to wear work clothes. He didn't want to put on no regular clothes, no real clothes a lot. And that was one of the issues I had with him. Everywhere he went, he wanted to put on work clothes, and that was it. So he wasn't even dressing like that at all. And so I remember one night, after all of that was happening, I didn't feel safe. And I told him, this is what I said, and this was then. I said, whoever stole my dead brother money, I said, whoever doing all of this, I said, they're going to reap what they sow, is going to come down on their head. I said, they're going to be cursed. And there was a lot of other stuff I said. But it wasn't
scared.
Nice. It wasn't nice. And he sat up there, and he looking, All I know, I ain't got nothing to do with it. All right. So I say probably like a month after that, I remember I said, I want a treadmill. And he like, okay, well, I'll get you one. I'm like, you will give me a treadmill? He like, yeah, I get you. I'm like, how in the world? He said, I did a job and got paid like he did concrete work, which he did do some concrete work one time, a hustle, one call, one or two calls. And he was like, you'll buy me a treadmill. So we went to Walmart and I got the treadmill. But deep down, it still didn't feel right. It still didn't. So anyway, we'll fast forward. And it was in November because my brother, he passed away like in February.
Yeah.
And then all this stuff, took place like in March. March. And so anyway, it was like November. And he was drinking one night. I just came in from work. He's sitting up there drinking, 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 drinking. And I don't know what in the world we was talking about, but I think I brought it back up about my money. I brought it back up about how I wanted to do a memorial in the paper for my brother. I said, but that money was taken. It was stolen from me and everything. And he was so drunk. And all of a sudden he was sitting on the couch and he said, well, I guess I'm finna die. I said, huh? What you talking about?
Wow.
He said, you said whoever stole that money, and he repeated what I said. He said,
Mm-mm-mm.
it was me. I took the money. I said, what? I I couldn't, just to hear him say it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? What is this? How?
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I started cussing him out, and I was crying, and I was like, how can you do this? I said, and then you know what he told me? He
Mm.
said, I didn't know that the other money was money for somebody gave you for your brother. He said, I thought that was the money you got from the taxes. I said, you still shouldn't have took it. Girl,
Exactly. Yeah.
he told me
Yeah.
that he felt like I was holding out on him and he deserved to have some of my money. So
Wow.
that was his mindset.
Yeah.
That I'm supposed to
You
get
know, it
engaged. Yeah.
it's such a mess, because he's sitting and acting like he didn't know, and he might not have known. That's not the point. The point is not that, like you said, you took from a woman you supposed to love, but you found out later he was using you the whole time, just
Yep.
using you. And that's the most hurtful thing that a person, as a woman can experience, to actually be used, abused, lied to, used up again, and just tossed to the side. I can't even imagine what you endured and what you had to go through. And I can definitely relate to similar things. It's probably not the same exact story, but even after that, he still showed no empathy or sympathy about your brother had passing. Let me ask you a question, because I'm sure other people would want to know too. Because, like, what did he do when your brother passed? Did he show any type of empathy? Because I know narcissists don't genuinely care. They care for the purpose of their own pride and ego. So, can you tell me more about, like, how was he responding to you during that time of your mourning?
He wasn't really supportive at all.
Hmm.
He was, I don't know, it was just strange, but he really wasn't supportive at all. That's the only way I can describe it. But what did happen, which is weird, but this is what he did. He found a way to use the situation to make it about himself and do what he wanted to do, because see, we were butting heads and we were at odds with his drinking because he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And whenever he drink, he turns, it's like a real cruel demon just manifests out of him, to where he's just
Mm.
a pure jerk. Pure jerk. And so when my brother died, and like I said, I was crying, I was going through what I was going through. And then my other brother, was trying to be supportive to me as much as he could in the situation. So what that Dusty Bum did, he used that as an excuse to go buy him a big old bottle of big old bottle of what's it called? It's a brown liquor. I can't remember, but it was his favorite. But
Yeah, like
he
E&J or
chose, yeah, it was like E&J, but it's another name. It's another popular brown liquor. But he used that as an excuse to buy a big fat bottle of liquor
something.
and sit down and drink it, and act like he crying over my brother that he died. Because I wouldn't have known about the big bottle of liquor if I hadn't walked in. See, he did it so strategically. He called my brother because I was at work, and he called my brother. My brother had went over to the house, and so I got off work early. And when I walked in, because he didn't expect me to get off early, I walk in, then he goes sitting at the table. My brother was sitting at the table. My brother wasn't drinking, but he had the big old bottle that's drinking. And he sitting up there. I tell you, this don't make no sense. He was a good man. Talking about my brother that died. He was a good man. I tell you, this really tearing me up inside. So he was acting like it was really tearing him up inside. But he only used that just to get that big fat liquor bottle to have an excuse to drink and do what he wanted to do.
Absolutely.
And have an
Yeah.
excuse to act a fool. And then what he would do, he would
Mhm.
build off that and act like he just gonna spin off of that. And then he wanna leave the house, get angry, and just leave the house and go hang out, acting like we got in such a big argument.
So when did you wake up and say, you know what, I'm worthy of something better than this? I'm not going to subject myself to this type of treatment and behavior. Like, what was your turning point that caused you to wake up and get yourself in a better situation than him?
Ooh, well, it actually happened during the 7th year of the marriage. We had been together total before marriage about 9 years. So it happened during the 7th year of the marriage where it was over time. It was a process.
Mm,
It was like I was getting tired. I was getting tired of having the same
yeah.
arguments over and over again about your drinking, about you cussing me out, about you,
Hmm.
not coming home late, about you not helping with the bills, about you just not wanting to do anything seriously, about you always entertaining and putting your folks over me.
Hmm.
Anytime they call, you go running. But if I try to call you and reach out to you to ask you for something, I can't get it. Like you just don't put me first. So I was never put first. I was never really a part of his life at all. He always kept me out of his life. But it was after all of that, and it's like I started paying more attention to the cycles, to how certain things work, to how it seemed like every 2 weeks he always come up with something just to get a reason to leave the house or to make up an
Hmm.
argument. I
Hmm.
started pulling back, and I started getting more quieter. I started
Okay.
praying more, being in my word more,
Yeah.
and just really watching. It was more so watching and really paying attention to what was going on.
Hmm.
And so I just got sick of it. I was always trying to pay the light bill, and I would test them. I'd be like, I need money. The light's probably gonna get cut off. And you're like, I don't have nothing. But when I really started stepping out from being away from, basically, I wouldn't really go out to his place, like the little spot of land he had with the little shack he had on there. I really wouldn't go. But I changed that up, and I started going and just popping up when I got ready. And when I started
Okay.
seeing all the liquor bottles, all the beer cans, and when I saw stuff up in there that I asked him for the house that was up in his little
Hmm.
shack, when I saw the setup, like somebody lived there, when I saw a refrigerator, when I saw you got a light pole at your shack, lights are on, but you can't help me pay the bill. When I saw all of that, yeah,
Oh, child.
yeah. And that's a whole other story how that happened, because
Yeah.
that was done behind my back over a process of time. For
Yeah.
him to try to set up his own and to do what he wound up doing in the end. But that's okay. But when I started really paying attention to the cycles, and I just got tired, and I was like, enough is enough. I don't want to be in this no more. I deserve better. I
Yeah.
just don't want it anymore. I'm tired.
Hmm.
He's not gonna
Why?
change.
Yeah. Why did it? Why do you feel like it took that long? Because you're talking almost a decade. Why do you feel like you didn't see those things before? What were the things that were covering your eyes or your vision from being able to see these things manifesting, getting worse? What was that?
Well, it wasn't so much as not seeing it, because he always was acting a fool. Because I told him when we got married, and after a little while, and I said, look him, I said, you better get the fool out you. I said, because if you still a fool at 40, it's gonna have to be a wrap. Because I remember there was a man on TV and he was talking about something his daddy told him, and he said his daddy told him, if you are a fool at 40, you a fool for life, for life.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. And I told him, I said, if you still a fool at 40, you definitely ain't gonna change. So you better wrap it up and get the fool out you. That's what I told him, just like that. So it wasn't that I didn't see it. It was just over the process of time. I stayed because, for one, the shame,
Okay.
because I've had previous marriages. I didn't want to go through the shame of, oh my goodness, I made a bad decision. Here go another one finna bust up. I went
And what people
through,
will say too.
yeah, what people would say. Um, I at that time I believed in pray and stay. I don't believe in that
Yeah.
anymore. Where somebody's abusing you, you're going through, you just try to pray through it, and you try to just be quiet, and you try to be accommodating to all of that. So I was still in that mode of pray and stay. A lot of it was, like I said, was based on, at that time, the religious portion of it. So I was trying to make the best out
Mhm.
of it, and then I felt like I was like, well, I won't be able to get married no more, so I better do the best I can to stay with this one. I guess I better just ride it out. This is just as good as it's gonna get. I ain't gonna get nobody no better than this. So I just kept
Mhm.
trying to pray and stay through it. Didn't want to go through the shame and anything. And then I also dealt with fear of being alone. I had, rejection issues, the rejection, fear of abandonment. I
Yeah.
didn't, I didn't want to be by myself. I didn't know how to. I didn't want to even cope or even think about that. So I was like, well, he'll piece of man. Having a piece of man is better than none at all. So
Yeah.
that was my mindset. That was my mindset. So I did my best to try to patch him up, try to make it work, try to just be a whole bunch of different versions of myself, thing to bring peace, even trying to compromise with his addictions, with his demons, with his that
Yeah.
that didn't none of that
Mm.
worked. It wound up just destroying more and more of me.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned? What would you say the biggest lesson you've learned from this particular marriage, that last relationship, this wicked setup, which is what it was? What would you say the biggest lesson is that you've learned?
Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. Don't do
Hallelujah.
it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It simply is not worth it. Don't put anyone above y'all. Don't do
Mm.
it. Don't make anyone your idol. Deal with your issues, deal with your hurts and your pains, knowing that y'all is the only one who can fill your voids. Because I had a lot of voids, I had a lot of traumas, I had a lot of hurts, and I kept trying to pull something out of him and other men to try to fill those voids, to make me feel loved, to make me feel wanted, to validate me. I kept trying to pull it from them. They couldn't give me what they didn't receive and what they couldn't get themselves. But there's always a place in everybody, and I learned that place in me that I was trying to feel through abusive, bad relationship like that. There was only a place inside of me that only y'all could feel. That's only meant for him. He is the only one that could sit
Hallelujah.
on the throne of my heart. That's it.
Hallelujah.
But I learned definitely not to idolize anyone and not to idolize myself. Don't idolize marriage. Don't idolize anything, period. Stay
That's
out
right.
of stay out of idolatry. Place y'all first. Let him be first and center and in my life, and everyone should want him first and center in their lives. Don't try to fix stuff yourself, because the more you keep on trying to fix it yourself and try to give your own self the remedy, it's only going to make it worse. And then I gave over my power to this person.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to give him something that, again, only y'all was supposed to have. So when he had access to my emotions, and even certain things I told him that I suffered and went through, he turned around and he repeated it. He weaponized my traumas. So yeah, put y'all first, and don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Even though at the time when we hooked back up, I was in a backslidden state. Because I had backslid a lot of times. I ain't gonna like I backslid a lot of times because I had a flesh problem.
Yeah.
And but it said y'all is married to the backslider. I knew, but
Mm-hmm.
I still knew better. I still knew
Right.
better. And this man did not, even though he act like, he knew some Bible and whatever, and would pray, whatever. But he was the one they believed in having drunk Bible study. Like, seriously, that's what they
Mm-hmm.
believe. That's what they believe in. When he would get drunk, he want to have Bible study and talk about y'all. I'm like, what is kind of stuff is this?
Mm.
But yeah, do not be unequally yoked. Seek y'all for all things. But yeah, that's definitely what I
If
learned. Put y'all first.
Yeah, praise Yah. Hey, if you could go back and talk to yourself 6, 7, 8 years ago, what's the one thing you would say? Like, if you could only go back and say one thing, like one or two sentences, what would you tell yourself aside from not idolizing someone, not putting someone before Yah, don't be unequally yoked? What's like something else that you would go back and tell yourself, tell her? What would you tell Faith?
Um, I would tell Faith to close her legs. Close your legs. That's what I
Ooh,
tell Faith.
child.
Close her legs. Because that's a lot of the biggest issues in my life came from the people that I was
Yeah.
sleeping with. I was sleeping with these people, and it was full of demons and
Yeah.
all kind of things, and that affected my soul, and it kept me attached to demonic altars. And
Yeah.
I was just an altar pass around, being passed around from one demonic altar to another, and that was locking up my life, causing so much just bondage,
Yeah.
so much depression, so much. But I would definitely tell, close your legs, close your
Close your
legs.
legs.
Yes.
Would you say that's connected to the abandonment issue, the rejection
Yeah.
issue, the alone? Yeah.
Yep.
And I think, in that sense, and I know we don't have much time here, I wanted to say this, that sometimes we idolize other people, but we idolize ourselves because we're so stuck on me, me, me. We're stuck on what is that dopamine rush? What's that fix? What's going to fill the voids? And then it feels something, but it's not what He, the Most High Yah, is instructed, ordained, or told us because we can't hear His voice clearly. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like we're feeling stuff, and it's all about me, 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 the flesh. That's idolization too. That's the idol worship of yourself,
Yep.
self-stimulation, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really serious. But yeah, I'm looking forward to our next story time, our next talk, our next release, our next, what would you say you gained from even just explaining this story? You've told me before and you've talked about this, many times, but what would you say comes out of it each time you share it?
It's my voice being heard, just telling the stories and using my voice that was cut off for so long. I was like muzzle had duct tape on my mouth, where I was able to really share and talk about these things and just share my testimony. So
Yeah.
I get the gain, just use my voice, that my Heavenly Father has given me. And He has told me He wanted me to use my voice. He has told me, open your mouth.
Hmm.
And that's just why I gained for more strength, knowing that I don't have to be ashamed, Because a lot of people use your past against you because, these are things that happened in my past. I mean, my past is sick. A lot of people have a sick past. Yep, I got a sick past. Yep, sure do. But guess what? Yeshua HaMashiach, he has delivered me. He set me free. And I am a new creation in him.
Thank you, Abba.
And so through my testimony, this just helps me also to gain, just to bring awareness.
That's right.
To share these things with other people so they will know that they can overcome. They can overcome. That Yeshua will help you out of any and everything. There isn't anything that's so bad that he can't bring you out and make you new.
He sure can. Hallelujah. All praise to the Most High Yah. I guess we'll end it here with saying, close your legs and open your mouth. That don't sound good. That sounds worse.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh, child.
Close your legs.
Open your mouth to him. Don't be ashamed. Close your legs to those that you idolize, including yourself, and just to put him first and to try him. He said, "Oh, taste and see that I am good, and blessed is the man that trusts in him." Hallelujah. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Wow. This is Shira.
This is Faith.
And you are watching.
Ooh, child.